Epstein case. You know, CNN just had to be the one. I mean, though, they're going to continuously be the one. They're not going to let this go. Because you know what? I don't think there's a news station that hates Trump more than CNN. Okay, maybe MSNBC. You know what? I take that back.
Trump losing his cool over Epstein. When asked about CNN's reporting that Vice President J.D. Vance was planning to hold a strategy session tonight on Jeffrey Epstein damage control, here's what the President of the United States said.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country. And that's just a way of trying to divert attention.
No, Trump is not a hoax. It's actually it's actually MAGA who started it. We started it. That's the problem. We're the ones who's kind of holding the Trump administration feet to the fire. Like, no. You guys said you're going to release these Epstein files. You tried to bullshit us. We're not letting it go. The Democrats are just riding along to be assholes. And that's just what they do. But we're the ones who are putting y'all feet to the fire over this.
Something that's total bullshit.
It's bullshit and it's a hoax. Those are the exact words that he just used there.
Oh, wow. Okay, man. We saying bullshit on CNN. All right, let's go.
Of course, the Jeffrey Epstein situation is not bullshit or a hoax, right? There are thousands of girls who were sexually assaulted and abused while underage. That's not BS or a hoax. And that's not partisan, right? You can say that as a Democrat, you say that as a Republican, and certainly as the MAGA base, which has not let up on this issue tonight. And it comes as J.D. Vance appears to be taking on a central role when it comes to the Epstein investigation. Sources are telling CNN tonight that Vance's role is to essentially act as a middleman between the warring factions inside the Trump administration, because there are warring factions over what to do.
I thought that was what Susie Wiles was for.
With the Epstein files. On one side now, the Attorney General Pam Bondi. She now says there's nothing more to release. On the other end, FBI Director Kash Patel, who had long wanted transparency.
And here's the thing, though, and this is going to be the problem. If it gets released and there's more than what they told us, it's going to make both of them look bad. Pam Bondi going to look really bad. Kash Patel, I mean, look, you were the first one to say the BS that, well, look, he offed himself. Okay, guys, he did it. You were the first one to say that BS. And then you gave us some BS-ass video. So, yeah, both of your careers are on the line if this comes out and there's more that meets the eye, more than what y'all say. And I would be okay for both of them to resign. I would like to call for both of their resignations if there's more than what they said
on Epstein.
Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
Vance, though, was once in lockstep with Patel, wanting all the files, wanting any lists or whatever euphemism, but lists to know who was involved, pounding the table for answers. Vance wanted them. In September of 2021, Vance wrote, quote, "Remember when we learned that our wealthiest and most powerful people were connected to a guy who ran a literal child sex trafficking ring? And then that guy died mysteriously in jail. And now we just don't talk about it." A few months later, Vance.
Hold on now, lady. If you look at that date, he said that under Biden, September 4th, 2021. Basically, he was criticizing you guys for not picking it up for some reason. It's like, yeah, didn't that guy just go down? Like, didn't he just get off in jail? And now we're speculating if that's the truth. And he said this in 2021. And now you guys want to pick it up. Now you want to cover it. You're being disingenuous about this whole Epstein file stuff, and you're only doing it to attack Trump. And it's cool because we appreciate the attention to it. But honestly, though, come on now. When y'all try to say, oh, well, Trump ran on it. Well, why didn't Biden? Like, do we really got to tell? Do Biden honestly have to run on catching pedophiles to catch pedophiles? Shouldn't that just something you should just do automatically just because?
And now we just don't talk about it. A few months later, Vance responded to a post claiming the DOJ and Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers made a deal that her so-called little black book would never be made public. To that, Vance responded, I quote again, "What possible interest would the U.S. government have in keeping Epstein's clients secret?" Oh, and here he is last year,
2021,
to right-wing podcaster Theo Von.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Well, it would be important. Now, though, Vance has very little to say publicly about Epstein. Occasionally has tossed some red meat at the MAGA base by blaming the media for Epstein reporting, specifically the Wall Street Journal when they had that birthday book. In fact, Vance's tune, other than being quiet, has changed so much when he has said something that Theo Vaughn has called Vance out. Theo Vaughn actually reposted a clip of that interview with Vance and added, quote, "Yeah, what changed?" And that is a question that many are asking, including Epstein's victims and their families.
Damn, not Theo coming at you like, bro, but you was on my podcast. You said we need to release it. Now you BSing me. Like, was our conversation all a lie, JD? Like, come on, JD Vance, you're hurting Theo Vaughn's feelings.
Who obviously
You don't
know
deserve
that the Epstein allegations and underage child sex abuse is not hoax or bullshit. In fact, they are increasingly calling out Trump and the administration as they want transparency. Virginia Giuffre's family saying in a statement after Maxwell was suddenly moved to that cushy, lower security prison in a red.
Yeah, and that is what I'm outraged about too. I'll give her that one. Let's be real. The fact that we moved her out of one, I'm gonna be real with you. She was already kind of getting a decent treatment in that prison that she was in. But now that they moved her to the rich people's prison, I mean, what, Camp Davison or Richardson or something like that. And this prison, or however you want to call it, is damn near a country club for the rich prisoners. So yes, if you're wealthy and you're a prisoner and you're of high status, this is where they'll send you, where you can live a nice little life. You know, you can have your makeup, you can work out, watch TV. It's damn near like being in prison in Norway, but you know, they only give it to the rich.
Residential neighborhood right after she met with
you,
Trump's
right?
deputy attorney general. Quote, "This move smacks of a cover-up. The victims deserve better." Well, the attorney for another victim, Annie Farmer, who says Epstein and Maxwell assaulted her in 1996, slammed the DOJ for lack of transparency, writing, "It smacks of a cover-up." And Alicia Arden, who claims Epstein assaulted her in 1997, telling NBC News, quote, "There's a cover-up of some kind going on." Of course, people talking about a cover-up because why not put out all the information when for years your team was out there saying this information should be there for everyone to see. Kristen Holmes is out front live outside the White House, beginning our coverage this night. Kristen, Trump clearly angry.
Now, let's get over to the next part of this, because this lady right here, hey man, she don't quit. I'll be honest with you. She probably is one of my favorite CNN hosts. And line, I don't agree with nothing she says, but hey, she covers the economics and the well, I would say the more cutting edge stuff. So I'll give it to the young lady. I don't even know her name. But all right, let's get right into it.
President Trump just moments ago saying he has not been briefed on what Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, told Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche during those 2 days of discussions in which we're told she mentioned 100 names. It comes amid the release by the New York Times now of previously undisclosed images and descriptions of the interior of Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. And these are important details. It was a 21,000 square foot home, decorated, as the New York Times describes, in Epstein's eccentric style. There was a sculpture of a woman in a bridal dress clinging to a rope suspended from a ceiling, a taxidermied tiger lounging in Epstein's office, and the infamous massage parlor connected to Epstein's bedroom. The New York Times also shows photographs that Epstein displayed at his apartment of himself with some of the most prominent people in the world. Okay, and we're not using that word lightly. A photo from 2000 of Donald Trump with his then girlfriend Melania.
Oh, whoa! Now what one of the Saudi prince? No, here's the thing, though. I mean, what you gonna do to a Saudi prince? They damn near do that on the regular. But whoa, yeah, that's tough. That's tough. He got you on the mantle, bro. He got you on his mantle, bro. Wake up next to you and look at your picture. Trump. Epstein woke up every day, looked at Trump's picture and said, "The good old days." Yeah, that's a problem.
Now, sure, that's one person. Bill Clinton and Epstein and another. Epstein with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. That picture also there.
That's what I was saying. I was like, damn, not the royalty, not the Saudi royalties. Like, but like I said, that makes sense. Like, I've been hearing about Saudi royalty doing some wild ass stuff for a long time when it comes to little girls, which is pretty sick.
Just to name a few. Front House TV, investigative reporter for the New York Times, who obtained these photographs. And Steve, it's incredible reporting. I mean, the famous people that Epstein had on display came from vastly different worlds, right? There was politics, entertainment, tech. I mentioned a few, but really only a few, because I know that there were others. When we talk about some of the most important people in the world that were photographed with him and shown in his apartment, who else?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having us, having me here to talk about the piece. Yeah, it's real collection, as you said, of power.
I mean, Trump, he has to drop the list. This is too much. It's too much. I ain't gonna lie. If I was Trump, I'd be like, no, drop the list tonight. Bro, they put out a picture with my picture on this man's desk. I didn't even know the picture was on there, but he got it. Yeah, drop the list tonight. Oh man, it's not a good look. Like I said, it still doesn't say, oh no, Trump is obviously on the list. Nah, but it does say that him and Epstein most definitely had a decent relationship, enough to where he kept a picture of the man on his mantle. And I'll tell you right now, I ain't got no picture, no man on my mantle. I don't even got my dad on there.
People, of business people, of people in entertainment. So you had, anyone from Steve Bannon to Mick Jagger to Elon Musk, a pope, mixed in there. And I think, if you look at the photographs and think about this, it was an attempt by Jeffrey Epstein to sort of show the degree of people that he could be acquaintances with, to be friendly with, and to have them in his life, and that he had that access.
Mm-hmm. He was flexing.
Right, to show that access. Obviously, many of those pictures weren't taken actually in the townhouse itself, but they were displayed there, right? So the people would come through, would be awed by him and impressed by him. So those photos are there, and then you've been through this actual.
I mean, yeah, let's be real. You will be, if you didn't know what Epstein was doing. He was going through Epstein's house, and you see him, and you see like, oh dang, Donald Trump, Mick Jagger. Hold on, you met a Saudi prince? Like, hey, nah, that's pretty cool. How you know them? And just shushes you or something. But let's be real, yeah, that was meant as a flex. It could just be a flex, guys. It doesn't mean that, oh no, these are I put all the members on my list or in my club on my mantle. It could just be, a flex. Possibly. And shout out to my man Daniel Castro. He says Trump has no power over current investigation info. Yeah, that is very true. It is still, with the DOJ, and they're still I think they just wrapped up, the interviews. They still got to look over the information and everything. And I think corroborate some of these stories as well. And I'm pretty sure they're cooperating a lot, and they're probably losing their shit over there. And if they're actually doing their job, they should be losing their ish over there.
Massive townhouse in Manhattan. 40 rooms? And you've been in perhaps one of the most horrible ones, definitely one of the most horrible ones there. The massage room, located in a suite of rooms connected to Epstein's bedroom. That massage room where Epstein was said to have assaulted some of his victims. And, look, in light of what we have now learned, that room, I'm sure you having been in there, is unfortunately very meaningful. What did you see?
Yeah, well, just to clarify, through the photographs, we were able to get a view into the home, not through a tour of the home of some sort. But just, what we did see. So on that floor that you're referring to, this is part of a 21,000 square foot home. And, what we learned through this is, on the third floor, there was basically this suite that included Epstein's bedroom. It included bathrooms, but there was also, the massage room. We found, through the photographs that there were multiple cameras that had been mounted in these adjoining rooms, not necessarily that we could tell in the massage room itself, but the massage room, there were paintings of naked women, for example, a silver ball and chain were among the kinds of things that we could see that were visible.
Wow.
And just all of that, to think what happened in that actual room. And 40-room townhouse. I mean, it's a mansion. He renovated it fully. He redecorated it. And what you have described in your report, Steve, is an eccentric style. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a word, creepy. I mean, I think that there are things that you would look around and you would see, like you mentioned at the top of this, the taxidermy tiger, for example, there was the sculpture of a woman wearing a bridal gown and clutching a rope in the central atrium of the home, framed prosthetic eyeballs lining an entryway, just sort of a general strangeness, creepiness, to the home, throughout. Leopard print chairs, for example, were among the things that we could detect and included in our report.
It's pretty incredible. I hope everyone will read it in full, look at the photos that you were able to obtain and share. So important in light of everything we're learning now. Steve, thank you so much. And of course, I will note none of the people that Steve and I were just talking about whose photographs were on display in Epstein's apartment, none of those individuals have been accused of wrongdoing in the Epstein case.
We're talking tonight about all that's transpired since the Trump administration tried to put a lid on the Jeffrey Epstein story nearly a month ago, and everything that's not being done to get more of the truth out there. For instance, the House subpoenas issued yesterday to former President Clinton.
Let me show you one of the most famous art pieces that everybody's been kind of posting about. All right, guys, can you imagine going in somebody's house and seeing this? Can you imagine? Bro, up the stairs, this is a sculpture. This is art with the rope. I mean, I'm slightly it's creepy, but I'm slightly impressed. It's hella creepy, but I am slightly impressed, but still creeped out. But yeah, can you imagine?
Hillary Clinton, former attorneys general in both Democratic and Republican administrations dating back to the George W. Bush presidency. But one name conspicuously not on that list, the man who years before he served in the first Trump administration was a prosecutor and reached a non-prosecution agreement with Epstein, which was controversial back then and even more so now. Details from CNN's Randy Kay.
In 2006, the FBI began investigating Jeffrey Epstein's alleged activities with underage girls.
I've seen hundreds and hundreds of girls go through Jeffrey's swinging door.
Yet as the feds got closer, Epstein cut a sweetheart deal. Here at Epstein's Palm Beach home is where much of the alleged abuse took place. According to court documents, as far back as 2001, it's believed Epstein began luring underage girls here with the help of those who worked for him. Most of the girls ranged in age from 13 to 16 and came from disadvantaged homes. They'd never before seen the exclusive Palm Beach Island. Federal investigators had identified at least 36 girls and were still building their case when suddenly in 2007 came this non-prosecution agreement. It allowed
one of the most scariest things about Epstein is, bro, where you want to talk about the girls on the homeland or in America. This man was doing this stuff around the world. I mean, bro, you could probably find an Epstein victim in every goddamn country.
Allowed Epstein to plead guilty to a lesser charge, just 2 prostitution charges in state court, and register as a sex offender. He would serve just 13 months in county jail. The deal also granted immunity to any potential co-conspirators. None of those people were identified. The deal shut down the FBI's investigation into additional victims and accomplices and any chance of Epstein going to prison for life.
I read the indictment. There was multiple allegations of sex trafficking, and then all of a sudden it disappeared.
The deal was signed off on by then U.S. Attorney in Miami, Alexander Acosta, who in 2017 became labor secretary under the first Trump administration.
Alexander Acosta, the guy that said, well, I was told to back off Epstein because he's intelligent. Who told you to back off Epstein? Well, what intelligence? CIA? Mossad? Which one?
He's supposed to be protecting these victims.
MI6?
And he was protecting Jeffrey Epstein, a pedophile.
It's scary because this is our government that's supposed to protect us, but has done everything to protect, a pedophile.
At his confirmation hearing for Labor Secretary, Alexander Acosta tried to explain his decision not to prosecute Epstein federally.
A plea that guarantees that someone goes to jail, that guarantees that someone register generally, and that guarantees other outcomes is a good thing.
2 years later, in July 2019, Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges after federal prosecutors in New York concluded that they weren't bound by the terms of the earlier non-prosecution deal. Days later, Acosta resigned as labor secretary amid public outrage over his role in Epstein's controversial plea deal.
I do not think it is right and fair for this administration's Labor Department to have Epstein as the focus rather than the incredible economy that we have today.
Top Democrats in Congress.
Wow, I mean, it was the same complaint back then, but it's like, dog, you called it terribly wrong. I don't like, why'd you give him such a deal? And why can't you explain yourself further? And apparently, you'd rather be fired than explain yourself further. So it is what it is.
Had called for his removal following the new federal charges against Epstein for allegedly sex trafficking young girls. 2 days before he
had a
resigned,
chance.
Acosta said he was pleased about the new federal charges against Epstein.
Epstein's actions absolutely deserve a stiffer sentence.
About a month later, in August
But they didn't do it.
2019, Epstein was found dead in his federal jail cell while awaiting trial. Randy Kay, CNN, Palm Beach County, Florida.
But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get on to the next video right here.
New York.
Whoop. My bad. Jumped a little bit ahead right there. But that's when the Epstein
It's
victims.
been a busy.
Yes, one of the Epstein victims is holding a press briefing. Well, pretty much after they found out that Ghislaine Maxwell was actually moved to a more comfier prison, a very low security prison for the rich, where she can buy makeup, possibly, accidentally, cut her neck, find her in there. She committed suicide, and I will never know what went down. So, it is a bit concerning. Like I said, I mean, one, she don't deserve to be in such a comfortable place. And two, now she's somewhere where she can get, off.
We're following breaking news in the Jeffrey Epstein case. MSNBC has just confirmed that the Justice Department is considering releasing the audio and or the transcript of Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. That's according to an official familiar with the matter. Joining us now, MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian, NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles, and MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin. Ken, tell us more about your reporting.
Good afternoon, Chris. Well, as everyone recalls, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell over 9 hours, over 2 days last month, and it was unclear exactly what he asked her and what came of that interview. But now we understand that the Justice Department has crafted a transcript. First of all, they recorded that interview. They're making a transcript of that interview, and they are now considering releasing it to the public with redactions of names and other sensitive information. And this, of course, is coming as the House Oversight Committee.
Nope, drop the recording. Nope, just drop the recording. No transcript, no nothing. You're only going to make yourselves look worse if you try to drop a transcript full of redactions, and then we got to fill in the blanks. We don't want to have to play that game with you guys. Just drop the recording. Like, come on now, stop playing with us. But shout out to my man Vlastine, say E.T. phone home looking ass reporter. I'm done.
It is subpoenaing information from the Justice Department about the Epstein case. And it appears there's a debate within the administration about how far they need to go here in releasing information. On the one hand, the controversy arguably over this, the heat on Attorney General Pam Bondi may be dying down a bit. On the other hand, the action in the House and in other places and on social media shows that there's still a lot of interest in this story and in what Ghislaine Maxwell had to say. And of course, she was moved from a low security prison to a minimum security prison without explanation. And the Bureau of Prisons had to waive a rule to do that. And so a lot of focus on what she had to say to the Justice Department. And now we're learning they are considering releasing it all to the public, Chris.
So, Lisa, would this be an unusual step?
Everything about this is unusual, dating back to the very conduct of an interview with somebody who's serving a 20-year prison sentence and wasn't talked to by prosecutors in advance, largely because they felt that she couldn't be believed. You'll remember Ghislaine Maxwell was also charged with perjury. She wasn't ultimately tried for perjury, given her convictions on other counts, but she was charged with perjury. But let's go back to the fact that the recording was made and a transcript may be released. That is also extremely unusual. I asked one victim's lawyer today what his reaction to that is. And he said, assuming that the victims' identities are protected, they would welcome the release of that transcript. And I said, well, wait a second. Don't you have any concerns about the way the interview was conducted, given that it was conducted by the Deputy Attorney General? And the response was, yes, any competent interview of Ghislaine Maxwell would be done by someone who has full familiarity with the case and the investigation, which it appears didn't happen here. But that's all the more important for us to see it. So if there is a transcript, if there is a tape, let us see it so that we can see how partial and selective the questions were to Ghislaine Maxwell to satisfy perhaps the desires of this White House.
So, Ryan, to say the least, it's been a busy day for the.
Yeah, drop the recording, because even the transcript, they could leave words out. They could be like, don't write that down. No, but all right, start writing again. All right, guys, stop writing. Okay, start writing. Like, no. Release the recording. They couldn't do that. And at least we'll hear when they cut the tape.
This case, the House Oversight Chair, James Comer, just filed a bevy of subpoenas tied to the Epstein investigation.
Yeah, that's a lot of people they bringing in. I mean, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. I mean, let's see here. Jeffrey Sessions. Who else here? William Barr. I mean, yeah, it's about time they bring that guy in.
They target, among others, former President Clinton, former Secretary of State Clinton, as well as former attorneys general who served under 4 past presidents, including Donald Trump. Tell us more about this list of subpoenas.
That's gonna be
well, I think it tells us 2 things, Chris. The first being that there is still an appetite among House Republicans in particular to get as much information out about the Epstein controversy. This despite President Trump's attempts to try and downplay the controversy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm gonna need to listen to it, because like, I want to know what Bill Clinton says. I wonder if he's gonna plead the fifth when they ask him. So yeah, so that dude Barack. So yeah, what was his name? Like, it was a ex-prime minister of Israel. Yeah, why was you with him? Or yeah, with Epstein. Yeah, Epstein. He visited the White House 17 times under your administration. What was your relationship with him? You know, actually, no, he got a picture with you in an airport getting massaged by a little girl. Can you tell us how that day, started about, like, start to finish, from when you woke up to how you got in a chair with a little girl massaging you? Can you please explain that, Bill?
And the need for more information to get out there. House Republicans are not accepting that. They are pushing for more information. The second thing that this tells us is that this has the potential, and I say put an emphasis on potential, to be perhaps the most exhaustive collection of information related to the Epstein case that would be outside of the prosecutorial procedures that went into the Epstein investigation. What the Oversight Committee is asking for, first of all, is they're subpoenaing the Department of Justice for any and all records connected to the Epstein case. They're basically asking for the Epstein files. And then they're going to bring into this exhaustive list of former officials across 4 different administrations who may have at any point in time touched on this investigation, and ask them very specific questions about what they knew and when they knew it. Now, whether or not they're going to be able to get every single one of these people into a room and ask them questions, that remains to be seen.
I'm done. Hey, shout out. He says going to be more fifths than a liquor store. Get him. I mean, that was a banger. And honestly, we're all going to be sitting there like, come on now. Don't plead the fifth on us. Don't do this to us, Bill. Don't do it to us, Hillary. Like, Barr, you go do us like that. Just go plead the fifth. Like, you guilty. Oh man, like, it's gonna look bad for him to plead the fifth on anything at this point. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Oversight Committee is gonna hit him hard.
Whether or not the Department of Justice is going to be completely compliant with this subpoena, that also remains to be seen. It's important to keep in mind, Chris, that while congressional subpoenas certainly carry with them a tremendous amount of legal weight, we don't have to go very far back into history to the January 6th Select Committee and saw how many Republican members of Congress essentially just ignored the subpoenas of that committee without any sort of repercussion, to know that there is an effort and an ability to challenge these subpoenas either through court or just by forcing the administration to go through the steps to force you to come in and testify. So there's a lot here that has to happen. But as I said before, it has the potential to really.
No, don't fight it. Don't fight it now, because if you guys go ahead and fight it, anybody on this list fights it, you guys are gonna look terrible. Like, if one of the Clintons fight, be like, oh well, I don't feel like I should have to show up. Why? No, come here, answer these questions, because you guys are culpable. This man visited you guys 17 times. Explain why.
So there's a lot here that has to happen. But as I said before, it has the potential to really unlock many of the questions that people have about this case.
2 of Epstein's victims, I should say, have written scathing letters to the court condemning the Justice Department's handling of the Epstein files as political warfare. This is what one victim wrote, quote, "I am not sure the highest priority here is the victims, justice for the victims, or combating child exploitation. Rather, I feel like the DOJ's and FBI's priority is protecting the third party, the wealthy men, by focusing on scrubbing their names off the files."
There is a confluence here, obviously, Lisa, of the legal and the political. The judge is supposed to rule on the law, but can he be influenced by the political firestorm or the victims and the kinds of things that they're saying in these letters?
I think he certainly will be influenced by the victims, if in no small part because they have statutory rights of their own, both rights to privacy, but they also have a right to be informed of these proceedings and to have a say in them. We learned, Chris, last night, very late last night, from the Department of Justice, that while they've notified people whose names show up in the grand jury transcripts, they have not notified all known victims of Epstein. They say they're still in the process of doing that. Well, my question to them is, what are you waiting for? The deadline for victim submissions are today. That sort of underscores the fact that they understand that the victims' own voices are a political problem for them, in addition to something that has the right.
A political problem that you guys are now employing, which, like I said, I'm not mad at it, but it is, y'all could have did this under Biden. Y'all could have put their feet to the fire, but you didn't. Because why? Y'all was too busy obsessing over Trump, just like you guys are now. And that's the only reason you're picking this up. Sad, but I mean, better late than never.
To be a part of this discourse. I don't know that politics should ever enter into the consideration of a judge deciding whether or not to release grand jury materials. But some of the other factors that are permissible might be described by somebody else as political, like one person's.
Hey, nah. Shout out to my man Jet. He said so many fifths is gonna look like Harris recycling bin. Like, God damn. All right. Y'all getting a little bit too creative right now, okay, guys? Because man.
Victims' rights is another person's playing politics. And so I'm hopeful that the judge will take the victims' voices into consideration, but not in a way that is playing politics with people's lives, but really thoughtfully considering their trauma.
I also mentioned to you what was going on today. So there was a story in the New York Times, and many of the things we had never seen before. An exclusive inside look at Jeffrey Epstein's 7-story, 21,000 square foot Manhattan townhouse. We should note NBC News has not independently reviewed the photos shown in the New York Times reporting. We can't confirm their authenticity, but the piece says this, that in his office, Epstein showcased a green fur.
All right, we already seen most of the photos. And if you want me to, I can pull up some of these photos. No problem at all. But all right, now let's go to CBS and let's see what they got to say about this. And then we're going to hop back on to the right side of media. All right, let's keep it going, guys. Let's make sure we double tap that screen, like the video. And you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, $2 and up. I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Appreciate the support, guys.
Maxwell's interview with the Department of Justice. A source says Maxwell did not implicate President Trump in the actions of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. An administration official also confirmed there's an audio recording of the interview with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee has sent out.
I'm a week. Shout out Cuban. Can you imagine Nancy Pelosi's trash bin? Actually, I can. It's full of expensive ice cream and imported wine. Yep. And all the and all the file papers that she used to inside trade. And that's what her trash looks like. It's expensive ice cream, expensive wine, and inside trading secrets.
Multiple subpoenas related to the Epstein case. That includes to former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and a slew of former attorneys general and FBI directors. The committee also subpoenaed the Justice Department for the complete Epstein files. The subpoena notes President Clinton's past relationship with Epstein. In 2019, Clinton's office said that while he knew nothing about the terrible crimes Epstein committed, he took 4 trips on an Epstein plane in 2002 and 2003, but he hadn't spoken to him in over a decade. Committee Chairman James Comer discussed the Clinton subpoena on Fox News.
The Democrats voted for it. I don't know that they realized what they voted for, but they voted for a subpoena for the Clintons. And because it was voted on by Congress in a bipartisan manner, I think.
No. It's like you damn near tricked the Dems. It's like, you guys just voted to bring in some of your own, right? I mean, look, long as you're okay with that, long as you didn't think it was just going to be a slaughter fest on the Republican side, I hope you're okay with these results. Because, hey, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate it. Like I said, we're cool with you guys pushing this. It's just you guys are a bit late to the party.
The Democrats voted for it. I don't know that they realized what they voted for, but they voted for a subpoena for the Clintons. And because it was voted on by Congress in a bipartisan manner, I think that'll have good standing in court.
And we've got team coverage for you this morning. CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand is tracking the political pressure from the White House. But I want to start with CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman right here in the studio.
Right.
Katrina, always good to see you. Good morning. So what are we learning about what Maxwell told the Deputy Attorney General?
Good morning, Michael. So our justice reporter, Jake Rosen, has learned that she didn't say anything that would harm President Donald Trump. ABC also reported that Ghislaine Maxwell said Trump never did anything in her presence that would cause concerns. So this is answering some questions that have been swirling. This was so unusual, Michael, to have the Deputy Attorney General go and personally interview Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted felon. Normally, the lead.
All right, let's go ahead and look at MSNBC. Go ahead and corroborate the same thing, because I think they was hoping and praying that she said something that would, make Trump culpable. I'm pretty sure they was hoping and praying and wishing on a star.
We're back with breaking news as the Epstein files fall out embroils Washington. As the DOJ is waiting.
Oh, and shout out to my man Vladstein. He says, can you imagine Hillary's email server in Black Book? Whew. I mean, it probably looks a lot like Epstein's, to be quite honest with you. Now that email server, good times.
Whether to release transcripts of Deputy AG Todd Blanche's interviews with Epstein co-conspirator and convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. We just got new information about what was discussed in those interviews. It comes as CNN reports top Trump officials are planning to gather at Vice President Vance's residence later today for a strategy meeting. It would include J.D. Vance, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Blanche, and FBI Director Kash Patel. Now, NBC News has not confirmed that reporting, but moments ago, we did get a statement from the family of Epstein survivor Virginia Giuffre, who died by suicide earlier this year. That family calling for the voices of survivors of Maxwell and Epstein to be heard in this meeting. Joining us now, MSNBC's Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian and our legal correspondent Lisa Rubin. Ken, I understand you have new information on this interview between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell. What did you learn?
Yeah, good morning, Anna. I'm told by an official familiar with the matter that Ghislaine Maxwell did not say anything that would have implicated Donald Trump in wrongdoing during that 9-hour interview with the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. It appears to be still up in the air whether the transcripts or the audio of that interview will be released by the Justice Department. As you said, there's a lot of discussions underway inside the Trump administration about how best to handle this whole thing going forward, whether there are still demands for more disclosure. There's also this question of whether the grand jury transcripts will be released, and a judge will have to rule on that, both in the Maxwell case and the Epstein investigation. And we do have a new statement from one of Epstein's victims, a lawyer for one of the victims, Annie Farmer, who says that, quote, unsealing the grand jury transcripts will illuminate the scope of Epstein and Maxwell's abuse, provide additional insight into those who enabled his abuse, and bring to light how these crimes were investigated and prosecuted. So there's one voice in favor of more transparency, more release. We also do know, though, that the Justice Department told the judge they do not want the exhibits released along with the grand jury transcripts. And that's a big distinction, because the grand jury transcripts would consist of the
No, drop it. Nope, go ahead and drop it. Let whoever be named have to defend themselves. Fair is fair.
Testimony of the witnesses, which is an FBI agent, an NYPD detective, describing the investigation. The exhibits would include photos, videos, other evidence that was entered into evidence gathered up by the FBI. And again, the Justice Department is saying they don't want those released right now. So that's where we stand on it.
I'm weak as hell. I wonder if Trump's Trojans are dusted with gold. I could actually see that. Like, man, dusted with gold is crazy, though.
And so, Lisa, you've been talking to
Like
some of the
gold glitter or gold, or like he just shaves golds off on the wrappers.
say.
I think it's interesting because I think what's more illuminating than her answers, particularly given that she was charged with perjury previously and many people don't think she can be trusted, are what questions did Todd Blanche ask her? That will be as important to the victims as the way that Ghislaine Maxwell herself answered the questions. And the reason is because while the victims are in favor of full transparency, barring disclosure of their names or identifying details, they also believe that there's something funky about this interview, that the administration is using this as cover for releasing all of the files within its possession. And therefore, they are interested in seeing how this interview was conducted. I had one lawyer for some of the victims, Jack Scarola, telling me the other day, any competent interview of Ghislaine Maxwell would be conducted by somebody who has full fluency with the investigative history here. And that appears not to be Todd Blanche. Obviously, a transcription or an audio recording will demonstrate whether or not Mr. Scarola's prediction is correct.
And of course, it would be hours, presumably, of interviews that they're deciding whether or not to release. That would be transcribed, and whether they make them public. Is it all?
I'm done. Shout out Castro. He said probably got them spray tanned orange like him. I mean, he's like, no, I don't want the gold condoms. Make them orange.
Or nothing. We don't know yet, so stay tuned for that. But talk to us about what Virginia Giuffre's family is now saying about this reported meeting that's expected between the vice president and all these members of the DOJ.
Virginia Giuffre's family is saying that a victim representative should be at the table at this meeting where the administration is convening to decide what the right approach should be. And that is sort of echoes of what we've heard from lawyers for other victims in the case. With respect to the motions to unseal the grand jury testimony, which is, a separate source of evidence or information here, you had a lawyer for some of the victims, Brad Edwards, who said in a letter to the court yesterday, the way in which the administration has gone about this has not been appropriately solicitous of victims' viewpoints. And not only are they not taking our clients into consideration, but this whole process is messed up. You, judge, should redo the process by ensuring that DOJ has to notify all known victims and comply with the Crime Victims' Rights Act. Our clients had a right to be notified of any proceeding that implicates how this case was conducted. And therefore, you first need to demand that they notify everyone, give people more of an opportunity to be heard. And before you release any of the grand jury transcripts, give victims' representatives, meaning their lawyers, an opportunity to review what is proposed to be released to the public to ensure that all of the redactions for victims' identities and names are appropriately made here.
I just keep thinking about.
Now let's go ahead and hear from one of the victims of Epstein. Epstein victim blasts any pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell. And that's respectable. Like, let's be real. And this is, one of the victims. All right, now let's go ahead and hear her out.
Should the files be released? And I believe, yes, the files should be released. I'm tired of the government saying that they want to release them.
She don't sound convincing.
So please just do it. And the next question is, should Miss Maxwell be pardoned? No, Ghislaine Maxwell should not be pardoned. She was convicted of sex trafficking of children.
Okay, now.
This is a terrible crime.
I mean,
our next question is, did you ever meet Virginia Giuffre? Yes, briefly.
Yes.
Before Miss Maxwell was arrested, there was a meeting in New York with law enforcement, with either the FBI or Homeland Security, and with many other victims. And Virginia and I were there. And I said, "Hi, Virginia. Did you file a police report?" I did, in California. Virginia said, "No, I could not do that. I could not do that. I was around rich and powerful people." And at the same meeting with victims and their attorneys, the law enforcement agent at the podium asked the victims if they had any questions. Virginia asked why Maxwell was still walking around and free. And the agent responded that they were going to find her. And I'm very glad that Virginia, that she asked that question. I'm very glad. And another question is, do you want Miss Maxwell to testify? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure if we can even believe her. But I mean, I would like to know what the U.S. Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, asked her and what she actually said to him. And the last question, how do you feel? It's a hard one for me. How do you feel about seeing Jeffrey Epstein in the news every single day and every night, all the time? And the story in the news almost every day and every night. It's very upsetting to me. And I cry with tears like I am now in my living room watching this all the time when I see it on the news every day.
All right, sis, you're doing a little bit too much. It's like she took a sip of water, she blinked twice, she looked at her lawyer and said, "Are you ready? Waterworks." I was like, all right. You could have, like, I don't know. It did look a little bit performative. Am I wrong? Like, and I'm here. Well, here's the thing. I'm trying to look her up as a victim, and yeah, I'm gonna look more into this young lady. I gotta corroborate her story because here's the thing. I mean, she sounds like she's acting, but I'm not gonna say that because honestly, her story could be real. She could have been a real actual victim, but I'll look into that for you guys.
Let's dive into this. What is the oversight committee exactly looking for? I mean, I'm looking through some of these names and all of these attorney generals and the FBI director, James Comey. When I first looked at this list, I was mistaken. I thought it was about Russiagate.
Right.
I asked you that. Can't be about Epstein. You corrected me and said it is. With the list of subpoenas going out to these individuals, high profile, mind you, what are they looking for?
They are going back to the earliest days of Jeffrey Epstein's involvement with the Justice Department. So they're going back to when Alexander Acosta was, this is under President Obama, was U.S. attorney in Miami and negotiated a deal with Epstein's lawyer, our friend and colleague, Professor Dershowitz, who did a fabulous job representing Epstein. But during the course of those negotiations, Alexander Acosta supposedly said, "I was told to go easy on him because he's intel." Now they're going to ask him, Mr. Acosta, Secretary Acosta, he's the former Secretary of Labor, who told you Epstein was intel? We want to interview that person. They're going way back. They're going back to when Robert Mueller not was the special prosecutor for Donald Trump, but was the director of the FBI.
Tripped me up.
Correct. That's what tripped you up. What also tripped you up, and I don't know why she's on this list.
Clintons?
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Yes.
What does she have to do with Epstein? But she's on the list.
So would it be, I mean, the flight logs in which someone's names appear?
Could be. This is extremely broad. As I said, they are asking for everything the DOJ has except the names of the victims.
What about President Clinton? We talked about executive privilege or immunity, presidential immunity. Does that apply? It applies to Obama, right?
I don't think it would apply to him because
Why is that?
his travel, as I understand it, his travel with Epstein or on this plane did not occur while he was president and was not part of any presidential core functions. This was either before or I think probably after he had left the White House.
Okay, so she wasn't.
So are you going to see the Fifth Amendment invoked by people who, when they were in power?
All right, so shout out to my man Maine. He says no pardon, don't believe Max. Who are we protecting? I mean, I feel you on that one, man. And so it's my man Castro Polis said, did anyone believe her? I bet no. And it's Elisa Arden. Now, I mean, I'm about to go ahead and read out about Miss Elisa Arden here. And this is the lady that's giving us the waterworks, right here. This young lady right here. And when I read her little history out, we'll go back to listening to her. So this is what I would find. So Lisa Arden is an actress who came forward in 1997, filing a police report in Los Angeles. Now, accusing Jeffrey Epstein of sexual battery in a hotel. Her attorney, Gloria Allred, confirmed that Arden is the first person to have documented proof of such a report, highlighting the significance of her allegation. Arden has also publicly demanded transparency in handling of the case, urging the government to release the Epstein-related files, including transcripts from the Department of Justice interviews of Ghislaine Maxwell. Despite her own experience as a victim, there's no indication that Alice Arden was involved in assisting or recruiting other victims. So here's the thing. She wasn't part of the trafficking. I mean, she just experienced a bad night with Jeffrey Epstein. So she's not one of these trafficking victims. She's actually an abuse victim. Not a trafficking victim, but an abuse one. So she don't really know anything about Epstein's operation. Not more than Virginia Giuffre did. And Virginia Giuffre is probably like the, sad to say, the golden victim, because she knew everything. She was actually tagging along with these guys. She wasn't. She just had a bad day with Epstein. And that is the reality of her story. And now that I know this, I don't even want to play her no more. Oh, that's why she's so performative.
Power where everyday household names? Or is the House committee going to get to the bottom of who knew what when?
Yeah. And how much focus is going to be on what was happening before he was sentenced and even what happened while he was serving time?
Well, as Sean pointed out, part of this investigation is how did he die? What investigate? They're going to go after Attorney General Barr for this. He was a very smart guy, but they're going to go after him. You were running the Bureau of Prisons indirectly. You were the AG. How did he die? What investigation did you conduct to determine how he died? How is it that your pathologist said he killed himself, but the family pathologist, the best in the country, Michael Bodden, said it's impossible for his neck to have been broken the way it was by his own hands?
Somebody has to say something, though. If this entire list comes back taking the fifth.
I'm weak. Shout out Jay. Like, she talked to Amber Heard before that interview. I know. Did she pick up some pointers on the way in? It's like, how do I make myself like the biggest victim in history?
Is that
that's going to look terrible if all these people take the fifth. These people were the highest ranking people in the government, starting with the president, going down to at least 3 attorneys general, Holder, Sessions, and Barr. The way this normally works is these people are interrogated in private by committee lawyers and committee investigators before they're interrogated in public. That's the way it works with the ordinary run-of-the-mill witness. These people are not ordinary run-of-the-mill.
No.
I don't think Mrs. Clinton's going to sit down twice for this, once in private and once in public.
Do you think she sits down at all?
Well, she'll have no choice but to sit down. You talk about arresting the people from Texas. This committee can go across the street to federal court and get an order for the arrest of anybody that refuses to come in and testifies before them. Yeah. You can't make this stuff up.
I know. I don't want to smile during it because
I shouldn't be smiling.
No, I'm just saying there's such a buildup for this because you pointed this out too. That the court, I know we got to go. Court of public opinion has pressured this story so hard that now you're seeing this play out with the oversight committee.
You would think that this is a Democratic oversight committee, what they're doing to the Trump administration, but the Republican oversight committee, if you don't mind me veering into politics, is under tremendous pressure from its own base.
Absolutely. The MAGA base has been very vocal.
Yes.
Generally speaking, here, they want to know answers. Judge, thank you very much for weighing in.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
We want the truth, and don't tell us that we can't handle the truth, because trust me, I mean, our speculation is wild than probably what the truth is. So trust me, we can handle whatever y'all gonna put out, because we're already imagining the worst. I mean, according to one girl, we might be dealing with reptilian creatures. I mean, if that's out there, trust me, whatever's actually on the files can't be already what some people's imagining. Like, there's actually people who think Epstein's